Who's ready for some wildness? There's crazy things going on out there right now with Bitcoin. And I hope everything's working. Anyway, let me know if things are not working. But yeah, we're here. It is Wednesday. Bitcoin's $122,800 as we speak live. And let's get into the story because this has some very interesting forecasts, interesting data that you will not find anywhere else on the internet. I know I've looked for Bitcoin channels that have good data. I can't find any. But anyway, here we are. We are now nearly on the cusp of a new all-time high. Bitcoin looks like it's ready to rage. We had the highest daily close ever. We'll look at some cycles. We'll look at the impact of rate cuts and a crazy price forecast taking us to $20 million. Again, this bull is unleashed. We have even more treasuries, if there couldn't even be more, but there are. Let's get into it. And of course, not financial advice, just a guy on the internet. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. This is from Kirsten McKittrick. Love all your Patreon posts and all YouTube videos. Awesome. And I love when we have strong women in the channel and community as well. That's awesome. Let's get into the news. A couple of things to cover. First of all, August up so far over 8% in August, which is not bad, especially when we look at the averages. Remember, in bull market years like 2013, 2017, and 2021, August is typically good. We're still a little bit behind 2021, but at this rate, it looks like we will beat 2021 if things continue. And why am I so bullish? Well, data. Again, all we do here is data, nothing else. First of all, we had the highest daily close ever in the history of Bitcoin, slightly above 120K, which is a new record. Yes, we've had a higher price on a spike, but not a daily close. A lot of people place a lot of weight on things like daily closes, weekly closes, monthly closes, etc. And the question is, actually, we have a question here from DM41. Why is MicroStrategy not running? Well, the treasuries are getting a little bit impacted, and there's so many of them right now. And it's all to do with the NAV premium, which is kind of falling down. And also Sailor stopped ATMing, which maybe should have an impact on the stock. It should actually be going better, but I don't know. We shall see in time. Now, another quick view. I'm going to start with some charts today that I found very interesting. First of all, I shared this the other day, and I wanted to come back to it. It's basically a combination of a few things. Well, this one first, my bad. This is a view of Bitcoin bear markets with the red shadows from the ATR model and where we are today and how far we have come. And you can see that this bull market is pretty incredible. And we've gone pretty much double what we did last time around. Could we go more? Yes, if history repeats, we could do a 3x last time, which take us to 180, but I don't know. The other thing that's very important to know is where we are in terms of the halving cycles. And here you see the halving cycles overlaid with the bear markets and the distance between the beginning of the bear market to the beginning of the next bear market. The halving cycle typically is halfway in between in most cases. But what happens next is the extraordinary part of the cycle when things kick off. When we go into that lime green section of the chart, which will take us to year end. If history repeats, we don't know if it will, but things are setting up in a very bullish way. Let me share more data on why. First of all, Polymarket, Bitcoin price in 2025. These are all the projections. 91% chance we'll hit 125K. 81% chance we hit 130K. Whenever I see 80% or more, that means it's in the bag. So I think we can count on 130K. And then 61% chance of 140K and nearly a 50% chance of 150K, which means it's like 50-50 if we get to 150K, which is pretty good. But there's a lot of good things cooking behind the scenes. And if I didn't say it already, big thank you to the moderators in the chat too. We'll come back to them in a minute. Let's look as well about if history repeats. I know the most dangerous words in investing is this time is different, but also the most pleasurable words in investing is if history repeats, because it's very easy to analyze history and see where we go next. So this is a cool little chart from Bitcoin Express. If history repeats itself, Bitcoin could reach 265K this year. If you compare to the previous cycle, which was a manipulated cycle, by the way, it had a lid on it. It would have gone to a lot higher, probably 100K if it wasn't for all the bad players in the whole space. but that was the 2020 to 2021 bull, which took us to 69K. Now, we are here in the same level of the cycle. This is when things typically kick off. I'll share some data as to why they could be kicking off. And if they do, we could basically more than double from where we are now, which would be pretty incredible. If it happens, I don't think it will happen. It's a much bigger asset, but we'll see. Now, checking in on Kalshi, where do they see us going to 125K? Well, that could be tonight at this rate, to be honest. Before September, 68% chance, which is very high. Before October, 83%. And before December, 87%. By the way, I find Polymarket better than Kalshi. No offense to Kalshi out there. Now, let's look at a couple more charts. There's so much data to share today. I'm very excited. This is the from Econometrics. The amount, he actually says 12% of the Bitcoin supply is held by Bitcoin Treasuries, i.e. public companies that hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet, which is basically mostly Michael Saylor, and the ETFs, which are the funds. Now, my math, and I'll say this again, I'll zoom out for this. People always say, oh, your math is wrong. I calculate the maximum number of Bitcoin ever to exist being 15 million Bitcoin, because since 2017, I've been tracking how many Bitcoin are lost. So I want to make it perfectly clear, nearly 5 million Bitcoin are lost. And people continue to lose their Bitcoin every single day. And every time somebody loses their Bitcoin, it's a gift to all of us because it makes the asset even harder. So for the 100th time, maybe the 200th time, there will never be more than 15 million Bitcoin. And that I've been hammering since 2021. And now people are beginning to say the same thing, which is awesome. So don't put that 21 million out of your mind. Not going to happen ever. 15 million. And when you take 2.5 million of 15 million, that's 16.66%. That's how much the ETFs and treasuries hold. So I want to get that perfectly clear. Watch my old videos of all the lost coins if you want. You'll see the detail that back it up. Now, if this is true, okay, this bag is worth $300 billion plus at current prices. And remember, this share will likely keep climbing because ETFs and public companies are the best vehicles. They're the natural vehicles for converting your crappy trash fiat into Bitcoin exposure. In fact, for friends of ours all over the world, sometimes things like MicroStrategy are their only on-ramp. They can't buy ETFs and they can't buy Bitcoin easily in their accounts, but they can buy proxies. So remember, these puppies, these ETFs, and these treasury companies are the only on-ramp for many. Now, let's talk about more bullish indicators. This one, okay? Buckle in, perhaps from Axel. You can see here the massive spike in futures estimated leverage ratio over the last 30 days. This 30-day change in Bitcoin futures leverage in August hit a record level we have not seen in over 5 years. It's exceeding the 0.4 threshold that previously coincided with peaks of elevated leverage and increased market volatility. Now, what this basically means to me depends what Alex thinks of it, but to me, when you see this rapid, large-scale influx of leverage in the futures market, while the price remains historically high, it means we get extreme volatility next, okay? One way or the other, probably to the upside. The big money is making their bets. Now, the other thing that tells me something big is going to happen soon, no guarantees, I'm just a guy on the internet looking at data and remembers history like an elephant. This one is what I call the IV down. This is the intrinsic volatility, the implied volatility, not intrinsic, implied volatility has been in a sustained downtrend, which means traders are not yet anticipating a shift to the high volatility regime, the spike, the euphoric time. And this means quiet volatility often precedes a sharp market move to the upside. We'll see if history repeats, but I call this the calm before the storm, or the longer the chop, the bigger the pop. And when I say chop sideways, technically we've been chopping sideways. People say, oh, but it's gone up 10,000, 12,000 in a couple of weeks. In percentage terms, it's nothing near as volatile as it used to be in the past. That's what I mean by chop. And when we look at the Bitcoin chart, Woo, we could hit 123K on this stream, by the way, if we're lucky. Wait, I'm watching this chart carefully. We're 122,885, high of the day, because of the good juju from all of you. But if you go back just the last 3 months, you can see that Bitcoin's been hovering around 120K for nearly 90 days. That's why last week, when I said Octa yesterday, the price is the same as the week before and the month before. That's what we mean by chopping sideways. You take a point in time, another point in time, another point in time, flat, okay? With a little bit of undulation in between, but not too much. And that's the key here. So the question is, are we getting ready for a pop? I don't know. This says so. This says so. And the hardness is increasing. And the markets are betting on more price action. But let's talk about another factor. You ready? This is exciting. You can tell I'm excited. This one is coming. We now have a 100% guarantee of a rate cut on September 17th. By the way, I wrote a detailed paper on this. You can get the link here later, and you can read about all my thinking, analysis of history of what happens to Bitcoin when a rate cut happens or when a rate hike happens. It cuts both ways. But the good news is, everybody, drum roll, there is now a 100% chance of a rate cut on the 17th of September. That is approximately 4 weeks from now. Okay, now, there's a couple of things behind the scenes. We have a new guy. His name is Moran. He was replaced from some guy that quit. I guess he was having a feud with Jerome Powell. And the number of members now within the Fed that want a rate cut are Moran, Bauman, and Waller. Okay, there's 4 others. So already 3 out of the 7 want a rate cut bad. And the pressure on them to cut rates is so extreme, the markets are predicting a 100% chance that they will fold and get a rate cut. So Jerome Powell, stick it. Now, it gets deeper. It's not just that. We have a guy called Bessent who is urging a 50% rate cut because he says, like I say, the job market sucks. Jerome Powell thinks the job market's fine. I know it's not. I have firsthand data. I hear from people that are losing their jobs every single day. It's very sad. Family members losing their jobs. AI eating jobs like we predicted. It's not going to create jobs, everybody. That's why I've been hammering this since 2022. It's ugly out there and it's going to get uglier. So prepare, okay? That's why I help prepare you every single day. And that's my commitment, at least for 5 years straight. And then my work is done. But this is a problem. And Bessent says we need a 50 basis point cut to get things back on track. That might not even do anything. Let's go back and look at some history. Let's look at the last time. Again, another chart. The last time the Fed cut rates was circa, it was September, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I'm tired now. September 2024, they cut rate 25 basis points. And Bitcoin rallied 40%. Then they cut another 25 basis points. And Bitcoin rallied another 42%. Combined compound effect of 40 plus 42 is 100% gain in Bitcoin. Now, oh, by the way, the red line is the Fed funds rate and shows you the cuts. You can overlay it on TradingView, which is very handy to see. And I didn't even go into the third rate cut. But the point is, these things have a huge impact on Bitcoin because when rates come down, people earn less in their treasuries and then they go risk on. That money plows into the risk assets, of which Bitcoin is one. Even though it should be a risk off asset, it's still construed as a risk asset. So when the rates come down, expect money to flow into Bitcoin. It doesn't take a lot to move the needle. Remember the $7.2 trillion of money market funds on the sidelines just in the US looking for a home. Now, if this couldn't get any more bullish, buckle in. It's about to. This is a study from the Bitcoin historian who posted a new Satoshi action report that projects Bitcoin price to hit 10 million by 2030 and 20 million by 2035. That's 170x. I dug into it a little bit, and it's a little bit different than that. And you can see Dennis Porter is part of this, and he is a mega bull. But when you look into it as well, a little bit closer, you'll see they talk about the price could exceed 4.81 million by 2036. Call that 10 years from now. Okay. If you look at the price today to 4.81 million, that's a 40x, by the way. And if you can make a 10x or 20x in 10 years, you're doing very well. Okay, 10x or 20x, you're doing very well. If you can make a 40x in 10 years, you're doing brilliantly, everybody. brilliantly. You can turn 100 grand into 4 million bucks. Who's into that? Let me know. But we'll see if this paper is right. We'll see. It sounds, technically, with the way money printing and debt is expanding, what is $5 million in 2036? The answer could be worth $1 million today. So just bear that in mind all the time too. Debasement will ravage you. But that's the paper from Dr. Murray A. Rudd and Dennis Porter. Check it out for yourselves. Fascinating stuff. And more money piling into Bitcoin. And it's not retail. Retail are not there. Retail are not moving the needle since 2024. It doesn't matter because the treasuries are huge. We have a new asset management firm, a wealth firm called Choreo. I call them Cheerios. They just bought $6.5 million in Bitcoin with a whole bunch of shares of BlackRock, IBIT, to get exposure to Bitcoin. And that is big. So just one of thousands of wealth firms are beginning to stack BlackRock, Bitcoin, ETF, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And this is another true story. For those of you who think we're too late to the game, this is from the Bitcoin Therapist, which I found incredible. And the shout out to BTCLONG as well, who shared it today. My boss is a Bitcoiner. His stack is considerably larger than mine, 10x bigger. We just had a work dinner with 20 of us. No one else has a clue what is going on. Literally completely blind to Bitcoin. Like, I don't know if this is appropriate to read, but I'll read it anyway. Like mentally retarded levels of ignorance. We are, that word again, early. That word means very, very twice in this little statement. Okay? Look around your network. Who has a bag? The answer is probably less than 5% of them. And even my network, I've been hammering them since 2017 to get 1 Bitcoin per kid. Nobody listened to me. Nobody. And then they're calling up now. Is it too late? I said no. But then they don't have the money. Or then they say they'll wait for a dip. Same thing. I gave up trying to convince people. I just make videos now. And shout out to a friend of the channel too. This is from Jeff Booth. He always says you cannot measure a system from the system. But now he's saying if you're pricing Bitcoin in dollars, you don't get it. Very true, Jeff Booth. And that goes back exactly to this one, the $4.81 million target. $4.81 million in 2036 is not $4.81 million today. And that's where people trip up. And that's where Jeff Booth is dead right. You need to think of Bitcoin in terms of Bitcoin. Bitcoin in terms of the 15 million. Bitcoin in terms of the population of the planet. Bitcoin in terms of the amount of wealth on the planet, which is over a quadrillion. Okay? That's the way you need to think about it. And shout out to Germany as well, meme du jour. This is the Bitcoin maxis holding open Germany's eyes who sold at $50,000. Painful mistake. Sorry, my friends in Germany. Sorry about your local county who decided it was a bad idea to sell this stuff. That's the only strong thing they had. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Bitcoin only proxy and proxy playlist is here. And I promise every video of mine, you will learn something new every day. And a big thank you as well to Sean D, T&D Tesla, K8, and everybody else in the chat. And DBF430, appreciate you, everybody. And let me know if I'm going too fast. A lot of people sometimes say I go too fast or they get tripped up. Let me know if I need to slow things down or if the pace is just right. Okay. Bottle of Red, good to see you out there too. And yeah, I need to check the Bitcoin price. So busy with this. I'm going to stick around because we are exactly $10 away from 123K. Okay. $13 now. This is exciting. So let's why don't I take a question from everybody? Let me see. A question from the audience. Get a good one. This is beast mode Bitcoin. I did say we could hit 123. Here we are, everybody. 122,999. Boom, 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 boom. This is exciting, even though we've been here before. 122,999. Why is it not going up? 123K. There we are. Made on Bitstamp. We did it as promised on the show. Get the pump out. The bike pump is with the bike in the bike garage. Thank you, Spartian, and thank you, Sean D, and thank you, Zhao. I can't believe at the very closing seconds, we made 123K. A bottle of red. Appreciate you too. And everybody for being here. Have a good night. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We've done all the hard work now. Now we sit back and relax and enjoy. Okay. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow, by the way, is Cyber Bulls. We'll be talking the biggest AI play, AGI play on the planet. And I've got a new model to share too. Thanks all. Bye.